Hello, you're watching Bangkok ChitChat, the YouTube channel from Thailand, all about Thailand. And today it's a Pattaya Report, and we're going to be chatting about future plans for Walking Street, also some news about the Waterfront condominium, flood management and drainage. Very romantic topic there. And also the mayor election, which is, I think, happening on March the 28th. So I'd like to welcome to the panel. We've got a couple of people here, one you do know, one you don't. Adam Judd and Bryan from the Pattaya News. Welcome, guys.
Hello, thank you.
And of course, Andwoo's there as well.
Oh, thank you.
Before we get into the topics, just I suppose to you, Adam, I'd like to ask the first question. How is Pattaya at the moment? What is the situ?
It's pretty good. So in terms of Pattaya overall right now, we had a bunch of COVID-19 restrictions back in January, and it was pretty tough because you actually couldn't even go into Chonburi, which is the province that Pattaya is located in, without permission from district officials, written permission, which basically really hurt us because there's no domestic tourism. This is on top of all sorts of restrictions from bars and gyms, and at one point malls closed and restaurants can't sell alcohol. So it was really tough. And this is also on top part of the problem that foreign tourists, unless you want to do a 2-week quarantine, have been locked out for, it'll be a year in a couple weeks here.
When does that change? When it's been lifted now?
That changed on February 1st when we went from what they call a red zone to an orange zone. And now we are a yellow zone, which happened around February 22nd. Last month. And basically, without going too much into that, all that basically means is that as we go down from red, orange, yellow, hopefully green soon, we get more and more restrictions lifted. The most recent restriction that was lifted, which made a lot of people happy, was before we had a closing at 11 o'clock p.m., which I understand Bangkok has at this time. But we are now midnight. Pattaya traditionally used to be open till all hours of the night, but as a special admin zone. But right now, until we become a green zone, it's still midnight.
And is it being enforced?
Officially, yes. Unofficially, it may depend on where you're at. What I will say, though, is they have the ability to enforce it, and they have been doing so, as almost daily with the Pattaya News, we've been reporting them raiding one place or another. And one little warning I will give out is that they have been arresting and fining customers, which they did not do back during the tourist time, but now because of COVID-19 and this emergency decree, it's not just going after the owners at some points. They have gone after customers. Not much. Just basically slap on the wrist.
What about business? Is it business improving down there? Are you getting more people from Bangkok coming down now? And
after this recent lockdown, when we reopened, a lot of places decided to stay closed, and some of them decided to open at weekends. So we had a big spike in sales because a lot of people just given up.
Not just the bar business, but restaurants, hotels, other just lawyers, and all. Is it all improved? We seem to talk about Pattaya as just bars and hotels. No, it's not.
As an overall thing, so I actually live in Jomtien on Jomtien Beach, and I have to tell you, from the last weekend, which was also a religious holiday weekend and a 3-day long weekend for Thais, was the busiest I've seen it in months.
Wow.
Traffic was buzzing all over town. The malls were very busy, kind of going around town. Overall restaurants, especially those oriented at the Thai clientele, were very busy. And I think a lot of this has to do with them dropping to a yellow zone from an orange. When we first had the restrictions dropped as a city, we were hoping that Valentine's Day weekend would be busy because it was also a long weekend. It wasn't. It was actually a pretty quiet weekend for the whole town. But now kind of their future plans, I guess we'll talk about it in a little bit, is to do what they did last year, in which almost every single weekend Pattaya City authorities are going to throw some sort of event, festival, attraction, reason to come to Pattaya.
Blueprint. Yeah. Maybe relieve the toll money as well for the people traveling from Bangkok.
They did that. That's another thing, though. They did that for the religious holiday weekend.
See, that's
so
cool.
That may have helped people to come.
But general business, I'm talking about, you got factories in Rayong. Okay, that's not Pattaya, but you got Rayong here. has there been a lot of layoffs, or have they started up? Or
No, actually, so it's interesting you say that.
Thank you.
It's interesting you say that because a lot of people think there's been a lot of layoffs. Actually, it's the opposite. Believe it or not, in that industry and a lot of these factories, they've been really aggressively looking for people to work there. We did an article that surprised a lot of people about two and a half months ago, where we revealed that there's tens of thousands of positions open at a lot of these factories, but a lot of the people that have been laid off from the tourism industry and the hospitality industry are not interested in those roles because of the salaries offered.
Right. Okay.
Let's get to Walking Street plan. From what I've gathered from the streams that I've been on as well, there seems to be two trains of thought for Walking Street, the plans, okay? It's like, should it just open again like it was? And it says here, it's attracted people in the past because it doesn't need a makeover. It's a red light atmosphere with bar girls in hot pants leaning out of the noisy bar saying, come inside, come inside. Or should it go, get the grotty road out of the way, broken pavements, mend them, get the signs down, frontages, and make it a place for families? So two trains of thought of where Walking Street should go. Where is it at the moment? And what do you think, well, Bryan, start off with Bryan, where do you think the future of Walking Street lies?
I think there's going to be more nightclubs down there and more show bars and less go-go's. I did a video the other day showing how many were open. There's 13 places going for rent right now, so until these places start getting filled, it's going to be a big struggle down there.
There's places for rent there at the moment? I mean, have places gone out of business and have to find new tenants? Or?
We called it 13, but with rent and key money for a single unit, you're looking at about 300,000 a month for a single unit. I think until those prices change, there's going to be a big struggle down there for business owners to make money.
Okay.
But there was a rumour that they were looking at taking all that out, making it to restaurants, and within the walking part, making it into a bit like Pat Pong they have now, a market area, and splitting between the day and the night.
Go traditional as well, go like traditional time. What I can't get out of my head is, as you're walking down Walking Street, on the right, that's all waterfront, which in a lot of countries is mega real estate for restaurants, bistros, clubs or whatever. And at the moment I feel it's being wasted a bit, because you walk on, there's a few pool tables, then you walk through a sort of a mezzanine, then you actually walk onto the boardwalk, as it were. Can't that be developed to make it all better? Do you think it will, or will it just go exactly like it was before?
The rent's $300k a month for a single unit. There's just no way a restaurant is going to be able to afford that.
So how much?
About $300k a month. I've got all of the rent and key money in my car for every single unit that's available right now.
For a unit that goes from the road to the sea?
Well, you'd be lucky to get one of those for that price, but yeah.
So it could be more.
They're all different sizes down Walking Street. They're not set sizes like everywhere else. So there's a few places which are 200k a month, and then there's other places 300-400k for a single unit. So there's no way you can have
a single unit is basically a downstairs.
It's just a guesstimate, just like like on Soy 6, but on Walking Street you've got smaller ones and larger ones.
All right.
They're all weird sizes.
Like townhouses, yeah?
Yeah, they're all like shacks there before, and so they're all different sizes. But there's one nightclub for rent, and they want 25 million key money and rent for 1 year. And I just said, how is anyone going to make any money?
So the government. Sorry,
no, go on. I've got a mega question in a moment, though.
I think it's probably the same. So how's it? What's the government going to do? They're looking at Pattaya as a whole, not just Walking Street. Yeah, could they reappropriate that land? Yeah, and develop it? Could they? There was a talk of on the right hand side turning that into a mall. There's a whole lot of different things. Is there any consistent?
Well, I'll add on to that question: is who's paying the 300,000 now for those places, or is it you know the ones I mean, like a shoebox places? They have the pool in the front, and then you go through, and then you walk out.
Yeah.
How much are they, and people are paying the rent on that?
They all vary, and no place is for sale down there, so it's very hard to work out anything. My idea with Walking Street is they should put some land on the outside and make the beach out further, and then put their walkway and all the family stuff out there, and then just let Walking Street get on with it.
And that's what they're leading to. So they've done a lot of meetings. Going back to kind of your first question, the two mindsets, the mindset of families or the mindset of nightlife. seeing all the news and our staff going to all the meetings that Pattaya City Hall has held time and time and time again on this, they want the best of both worlds, is really what they want. It's absolutely a myth that they want to destroy the nightlife and nightclubs or move it to another area. But it's also not a myth that they want to make the area attractive to families, especially in the daytime. And if you've ever been down Walking Street during the day, it literally looks like you just walked into the apocalypse. It's horrible, and everything opens at night. Although there are some restaurants and other things, but they don't bother opening up until later.
It all lights up at night and looks far better.
Their plan is to kind of have the best of both worlds. What they've started already, and this is actually happening right now, this isn't a plan, is they started tearing up Walking Street to move all the nasty-looking cables that go over Walking Street and the power cables and infrastructure to move that underneath. It was actually supposed to happen last summer, but they went ahead. Obviously, we had COVID last summer, and people thought, oh, we might be open for high season. And so the business owners said, please wait. So they waited. Now here we are still in this COVID situation. So City Hall said, we're doing it. Correct.
When nobody's here.
Correct.
All right, so we've got Walking Street. Let's keep walking through Walking Street.
Correct.
And we have this next area.
Bali High,
and then we can get to the waterfront after that, because we just keep going.
I like the way this direction of this interview is going. Well done, mate.
So anyways, yes, they've started moving, actually the same day, kind of ironically, the same day that they went ahead and lifted the restrictions and allowed the reopening of many businesses, February 1st, was the day that they started moving the cables underground on Walking Street. Now, traffic is picked up, and they're doing it section by section. Each section, honestly, is about the size of this studio. And they're not tearing the whole street up at once. It's massive, but for the size of Walking Street, it's in front of one area of each bar, and they're moving along while they do it. So the plan is to move that underneath. Then their next plan is kind of what you said. They they're planning to go ahead and improve the pavement, improve the sidewalks. This part that I'm about to discuss is kind of still being debated, but they would like to put a retractable roof over Walking Street. So when it's raining at night, you have a roof in the area. That is a heavy part of their plan and their discussion.
Has Nana got a retractable
they had to put a roof over it because the amount of noise that was going out for the condos around about, and sorry, that was the Nana. There was a lot of complaints. Of course, you have the landmark right next door as well.
But this one's retractable,
and also rain.
That's the plan they're talking about. Yes,
that's so cool.
So you're right. Okay, so that's what they're planning there. Now, once you come to the end of Walking Street, you come to this huge big car parking boats area.
Bali High.
Right. Yeah. So it's called what?
The pier.
Bali High Pier.
Sounds like somewhere in Scotland, doesn't it? I'm going to Bali High.
I hope the news. Past the Rasputin Russian restaurant, which is probably still there.
So you've got it is still there, believe it or not.
Never been in there.
I've never seen customers there before COVID. And the Rasputin restaurant is still there.
Rasputin Russian restaurant. Just as you get to Pattaya High.
It's an empty Russian restaurant that's still in business. It's still open every day, but they have exactly the same customers now as they had before COVID. No offense, Rasputin, if you're watching this.
Is that related to the other Rasputin behind Soy 6?
No, it's not.
So you've got this big area, this huge big car park port area, yeah? And they were I heard they were talking about putting in a theme park in there, and this all comes down to what you're saying about family, yeah. So you've got the daytime, blah blah blah, blah, and you get the nighttime, but during the day they could go to a theme park over there. So that was one concept.
That was a concept. That's probably not going to happen. But what is going to happen, like what Bryan said, is near Bali High. So everything on that really expensive seafront side, that side is also, there's been a lot of debate for many, many years on the legality of that, because in Thailand, beaches is land
national park
that belongs to the king and the Ministry of the Interior.
Actually, same as in the UK.
However, the way that they're going to get around that, because they don't want to tear it down, is probably what Bryan said, and we've already seen the sketch work, is like a boardwalk or a lagoon out that, making it a second beach. So Walking Street's here, and the lagoon would stretch around it. And what they would put on that boardwalk are nice restaurants, daytime things that reach out to the sea.
That makes
and
sense.
to your point about a theme park, they want to put a big Ferris wheel out there to attract the people.
Well, London, like every other.
Well, the
major
patio
city.
wheel.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, but you've got to have a
patio
wheel.
wheel.
Ferris wheel.
You have
We
to
get
have
more
a wheel.
fun from a game on TV.
No, you're nobody unless you've got a wheel. Doesn't matter how big it is, just have a wheel.
As for Bali High, so that big open space, before COVID, that big open space was always full with tour buses, primarily for Chinese tourists to go out to the islands in the local area. That's probably not going to change. But right now it's completely empty, so they've temporarily turned it into a skateboard park for all the local youth.
Right.
So right now, if you go out there in the late afternoon, especially around sunset, it's full of dozens of people skateboarding.
my skateboard down next time.
I'm looking forward to that.
Double dual carriageway, access going right along there in there. So the access for vehicles is pretty good. If they stopped everybody parking on one side, you get the dual carriageway, so a lot of people park along here, which is a pain. But if they cleared that, it's excellent.
Do you think, could they do a marina there?
Well, that's the next part of their plan. So as you stretch,
no wonder they can't come to a decision.
As you stretch around. So here we have Walking Street, then we have the pier, and then all the way down at the end here, you have Pradenak Hill with the big famous Pattaya sign that you can see.
The one that's obscured by the waterfront.
By the waterfront, we'll get to that.
Condominium.
By the waterfront condominium.
Love the way this
or
is
as some people say, the giant eyesore at the end of the pier that everybody wonders why is there.
Yeah.
At the very end, there's been a lot of talk about a yacht-style terminal. A cruise terminal, but also a yacht as well. They've actually talked about, and this is probably going to be a ways away due to COVID, but a cruise ship terminal at the very end of there to bring in cruise ship tours rather than have to go to Lam Chabang and be able to dump them off right at the end. And then they can ferry down into Walking Street and ferry down to the boardwalk. And
into the malls.
Duty free. They bring them during the day, and that's a big reason they want it to be appealing during the day. Yeah. But at night, it comes alive with the neon lights, and it's still a great place for nightlife. You can
still go out there and gamble on the boats and things like that.
I have to say, I think, I've heard I think that sounds really practical. I don't know about the expense, but I think that would really work.
A lot of the expenses would be, it's not just Pattaya City that has these plans. It's part of, I'm not going to get into it in depth, but so basically the whole plan for the Eastern provinces is under this overarching Thailand-style plan called the Eastern Economic Corridor, in which the entire importance of all the Eastern provinces, but especially Chonburi and Rayong, is built to go ahead and improve with things like talking about trains and monorails and to allow people to commute to and from the area a lot easier. And they want to attract, right now, going back just a little bit, right now, especially before COVID, Pattaya attracted about 80 to 90% tourists. They want to bring that down to about 60%. And if you see how the area struggled because of COVID and lack of tourists, that makes sense. Of pure tourism, and the remainder be a lot of business travelers or people coming for conventions in and out to the area. So there is an overall big plan to all of this, which comes back.
And people from Bangkok will come more, I'm sure.
In theory, yes.
I would reckon.
Yep. So a lot of this money, again, the cost is a lot, but it's coming from a variety of different companies and investors. And
but also with the economic downturn, what's the one thing, even in the UK, you look at it, is invest in infrastructure. Do it now to build up your economy, because that's one thing they've got to do anyway. So that's maybe what they're looking at doing in Pattaya.
There's a market for another marina. I was down there the other day and a lot of people were complaining. So if there's another marina in Pattaya, it would be amazing.
But you've got a marina already.
Jomtien Way near the Ambassador.
I've had a jet ski. I was down there the other day. There's a guy with 7 yachts down there.
You have a marina in Pattaya already, a yacht club.
The marina outside the waterfront, I think the waterfront had to make that to make it legal.
No, I think he's talking about Ocean Marina.
Yeah, that's the one that I was talking about.
Oh, all right, okay.
It's not very...
Not that I got a yacht, so I wouldn't know.
I had a jet ski down there, but there's a lot of people unhappy, and if there's a market for another marina, but it's going to take quite a lot of money. And what AJ's talking about is for a cruise terminal, but having another marina there, a load of people would move there.
Yeah. I mean, this is the time to do it, as you say, put as much effort into it now when it's not going to affect the tourists, and when the tourist arrives, it's done. Yeah.
Well, they want to renovate that Pattaya Hill too. They don't want to change the sign or anything.
Well, this is a
famous
good time
about
to
it.
talk about the condo, because we've got to move on. What's
Yep.
the condo called?
The Waterfront.
Right, go for it.
Why?
So when was it
Because
built?
on the waterfront.
The Waterfront was originally, the project started over a decade ago originally, and it was stopped back in roughly 2014, 2015. First of all, what the Waterfront is a massive condominium building. It used to be about 40, 50 plus floors, but they removed a couple, hoping to be allowed approval to continue. And it's sitting there right at the end of the Pattaya sign, and where they want to do it.
Yeah, the view is that there's a hill and there's big, like Hollywood, right? It's got the Pattaya thing there. So
And here's this massive, hasn't been constructed on in about 6 or 7 years, this massive empty condominium that looks like an absolute eyesore. So cheap plug, if you want to read in depth about the entire Waterfront story, it's actually on our Pattaya News website.
I'll put the link.
Put a link at the bottom of it, or you can search Waterfront, and we've done detailed reports on it. I'm not going to go into all the legal reports of it, but what I will say is that there were a lot of problems, there were a lot of promises that were supposedly not kept. And so now the city just wants it gone. Unfortunately, the company that was behind it claims that they went bankrupt.
yeah, there we go.
Yep. Of course, some people claim that they're not bankrupt, but that was the claim that
Because
they
it cost
had.
a lot of money to pull one down, right?
And the shame about it was about 80% already sold, and it was probably about 75-80% completed when they stopped it. And here's the reason they stopped it, because as he said, imagine right at that Hollywood sign or Pattaya sign, you've got this massive condo going up. And as it was getting higher and higher and higher, local residents became more and more concerned because it was blocking the view.
But they must have had the planning permission already to go
Well,
and
there
do
we
this.
go. Well, that's
They
the big
had it,
million-dollar
but of
question.
course-
Before the army, it was signed before the army got involved.
Yeah.
But still law.
Sort of, but then it turns out that there's a lot of legal issues that were broken. It's too close to the ocean legally. It's too close to the public land that we talked about earlier. And a bunch of the legal permits for it may have been gotten incorrectly.
That's why they built a pier out the front to make it legal to have it, and then they counted the land from the end there, from the end of the pier. So that was part of the
So
deal.
you guys are saying it won't be finished?
No,
So it'll
absolutely
either
not.
be stay like it is
There-
or pull down.
No, there's a court order currently sitting, and again, we put the link at the bottom. We just published this a couple months ago. It has been signed by the top Thai courts to demolish the building. Why it isn't demolished right now is because it's a tricky situation on how they're going to take it down. A lot of us are hoping they do some sort of Western style.
Oh, great,
Well, that'd be
yeah.
a great video, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to get contractors to bring it down piece by
I
piece.
wonder who's going to work, who these contractors
That's
will be.
the city is probably just at this point they're so frustrated with dealing with the original company and all these there's lawsuits everywhere over this building, a lot of them from the tenants, but quite honestly, because as it got taller and taller, as I was saying, people behind this and behind the Pattaya sign is a viewpoint which has a statue of an admiral who's very important to Thai history. And it's all in our article as well. And that's what really offended a lot of local Thais, because the admiral, who's the father of the Thai Navy, is pointing to the ocean. And it's been there for a long time. Now he's pointing at a condo. And that really offended a lot of local Thai residents.
They talked about moving him around
Yeah,
at
can
one
he-
stage.
Yeah.
He's
Point
3
the other
feet
way,
left.
They actually talked about moving him, but the local residents and then environmental groups got offended,
yeah.
and it just got worse and worse. So the bottom line is, if you want to read more, check out the article on
When
it.
do you think they're going to knock it down?
Good God.
Guess them.
How long's a piece of string?
I would say the fact that the mayor wants it gone so badly, and this can lead into talking about the mayor,
Yeah.
it'll probably be sometime this year. Again, don't quote me on that. Don't say you promised it'd be gone.
You can't promise anything. You're just a Falang as a guest in Thailand.
Correct.
Right.
But the fact that they have the final court permission to take it down, and they've held multiple meetings to take it down, and they're having pressure from other parts of the government in Eastern Economic Corridor, when do we get rid of this eyesore?
You know, I mean, we've got the same case in Bangkok, not the same case, but a similar case in Bangkok, where they built a condo and you have to have so many meters from the road back, yeah, and they've had to knock that down. And as much as I feel for the people who have bought places and losing money, damn shame. Will they get any money back? Probably not. Yeah,
possibly. Magna Carta is working with them on the lawsuits for it.
With lawsuits, you have to have money to take from somebody. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can go for years and years and years. But I feel sorry for them. Yeah. But my point is that I think the fact that the rules are there, and the fact that they are being enforced to say to other people, check the laws, make sure the laws are you're following the law, you've ticked all the boxes. Don't listen to somebody like you would in a pub where somebody said, well, I've got a contact here, don't worry, it'll be okay. Yeah, it just doesn't work, it's going to catch up on you. So I think it's quite good as a statement for the Thai legal system that they're enforcing it.
A lot of these companies in Pattaya, they seem to have a separate company per condo project, so the people behind it have money and their main company has money, but then you're trying to get money off that company and then they say it's bankrupt.
So they have to have guarantors or whatever it is, like you have with an LC, except it's for a building. Yeah, if they had that, then people could be held to account. Yeah,
Bangkok has a couple buildings like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's one in particular.
Don't you have like a ghost hotel?
Well, there was that hotel on the river.
Something?
Remember, they actually finished it off in the end.
This is in Soi Ramrudi.
Yeah, but which
Ramrudi's
hotel?
a small site. It's only for 2 cars. Yeah, and it's in Soi Ramrudi.
Yeah, but there was a hotel on the river that had about another 10 floors to do, and it was there for years. I think it finished now and it's become quite a famous hotel.
And what's funny is this waterfront's sitting empty, but we're talking about Pattaya and how's Pattaya doing in general. And what I want to bring up is if you go around the rest of the city, I actually took a photo of this the other day and put it on our social media. You've got buildings like the Copacabana that are under construction, that are nearing completion, and are still going along well. This is a gigantic condominium in the Jomtien area that's going to be over 50 floors. There's actually a lot of construction going in and around, not also on 3rd Road and Pattaya, several buildings down there in the middle, large condominiums. So there's a lot of people that are putting a lot of faith in the future of the Eastern Economic Corridor, and Bryan could probably talk about this better than me, but we have a lot of faith that once borders open up, we're going to see a rush of people coming back to Thailand.
Oh. Okay. So we've got a couple of topics to do, but one of them is the sexy topic of flood management and sewage. But we also got the mayor election, and I think we can join the two together because obviously, I'd like to know when is is it the election on the 28th of March?
So yes and no. It's glad that you brought it up. Welcome to a Thailand answer, right?
Yes.
Yes, there will be municipal elections countrywide on the 28th. And for those of you here that are in Thailand, yes, that will mean an alcohol sales ban from the night before the 27th, which yes is a Saturday, from about 6 o'clock until polls close about 5 or 6 o'clock the next day. We had the same thing in December.
Stock up.
So stock up in advance.
Come on.
It's crazy. So many guys do that. They panic.
Oh, they do.
But it's municipal elections. What they've decided, and we're going to relate this to Bangkok talk also, or Bangkok ChitChat. What they've decided is, so we're going to do municipal at this one. 3 months down the road, which yes will mean another booze ban, they're going to do Tambon elections, which are kind of like the bigger regional area for those not familiar. And then 3 months down the road, another alcohol sales ban. They're going to go ahead and do the Bangkok governor and the Pattaya Mayor.
Do you imagine all these people sitting in bars drinking coffee in coffee cups?
Oh yeah, there's going to be so many.
Oh God! Wow.
When's the new mayor going to sit on his throne? They don't have thrones.
Or the existing mayor.
When's he leaving?
The mayor election at this point will probably be in late September or early
so what's
October.
in March 28th, the municipal one?
They start.
The municipal ones,
Right.
they've started. So you'll already see people in and around. Municipal includes the Nong Pru mayor and other areas in and around Pattaya that makes up the greater Pattaya area or the
Right.
district of Banglamung. So all those positions, all the chief positions are up for election right now. They're waiting on the Pattaya mayor and the Bangkok governor until later in the year because probably rightfully so, they feel that those are going to be big attention elections.
So the drainage then, shall we do?
Yep.
Is the mayor in charge of all that? Sorry, did you want to?
Yes.
No, all I was going to turn around and say, and it's a little bit controversial, is this all clean? Or is it just the same people are going to go in because they've got the support? And do the Thais actually really care and actually go and vote? Is it a high percentage of attendance to vote?
What I'll say about our current mayor, is that he actually is pretty well liked locally in the area.
Municipal, yeah, municipal.
Municipal, it's pretty clean, honestly, with the election commission and stuff. I mean,
So it has improved.
it's improved.
Right, that's the main question.
What I will say, though, is that the people who, especially like saying protesters and stuff, who want some of the very progressive groups coming in, I don't think the population in general is ready for that. The last polls that we did on December 20th, which was for provincial administrative positions all through Thailand, you guys actually didn't have it here in Bangkok, but everywhere else did. And the progressive parties, a lot of those that protesters support in Thailand, got smashed. They got smashed around Thailand by the existing conservative parties and the existing people in roles.
Yeah,
They thought they were going to do at least okay or show they were a path forward, but they got obliterated, and it had to have a lot of protesters actually rebranded their groups and changed their names following that.
I mean, part of the thing, and this is a last point here, rather than to debate it, is what I find even in the last elections, and maybe it's the translation from into English, yeah. So some of the policies are just not policies. I just don't understand. You know, someone. Okay, you've got the one of cannabis, yeah. They wanted to legalize cannabis, which is fine. But the other policies, like financial, economic,
Well, they're there. I don't think we ever get to hear what they are, to be honest.
You're right. It's so different than Western countries.
Not transparent.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They have so many rules. Like, you won't see detailed commercials or detailed websites detailing every policy. You won't see debates between candidates because just elections are done differently here. That's a good question, and I actually don't have the answer to that one, other than the fact that they're afraid of slander and libel laws, and they're afraid that debates
Defamation law is criminal.
would turn into
Defamation is criminal.
defamation with each other.
It's losing face as well.
Yep, a good one. Yeah, absolutely. So,
not fair to the electorate, that's what I'm really
so these
saying,
guys are going to sort of take care. Flooding is a problem, and maybe some viewers from the UK and that might not know it is a problem, but it is a big problem. Flash floods as well. Who's taking care? First of all, where in Pattaya is the flooded areas? Is it everywhere, or are there certain? Soy 6?
Soy 6 doesn't flood.
It's okay.
It gets pretty high, but it doesn't come over the curb because it just goes straight down the road, and then the beach road fills up to the curb, and then it goes over.
Okay, so that would be the main flooding area, which is
Town.
touristy.
Which is touristy.
Third road.
As he would know, a lot of the area Nong Pru and out towards the dark side and the railway tracks have a lot of problems.
Soy Khao Noi on the dark side, that turns into a river. It's quite dangerous.
Dark side is the north.
Left.
It's on the other side of the railway track.
Yeah, left-hand side of Vipaud, of Sukhumvit.
Right.
The normal side where normal people live.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it shouldn't
same
be
in
called the
Bangkok,
dark side,
Sukhumvit,
should it? It should be
Ceylon,
called the
yeah.
bright side.
Well, people get confused with ladyboys because you say I go on the dark side, and
Oh, yeah,
get
exactly.
confused years ago.
Because considering, just quickly, just get away from it, the dark side, that's always amused me, because it's like sensible people live there, they have jobs and this and that, and they have
Miserable
families and all
expats.
that. It's called dark side.
I guess many years, even before I'd been here, maybe
no
not
electricity.
Bryan, there was no electricity out there.
That's was going to say that. I read up why it was. Yeah.
There was
or no lights.
No road next to the railway tracks when I first moved 14 years ago. It was just dirt roads.
Yeah.
If you go down to Huayai, they've stopped the road there and it was just dirt like that.
Yeah.
And then there was no street lights. And I think there's some street lights in some places, but that's why it's called the dark side.
There we go. We learn something every day. The dark side.
So flooding.
Sewage.
So the flooding issues, contrary to belief, have come a long way. When you see the dramatic videos and pictures and stuff that we've posted on the news of it, it looks really bad. But a couple years ago, it would take hours for this to drain out and to drain out the sea. We had a pretty bad storm a couple weeks ago, and it was gone in about 45 minutes. And a lot of people, of course, still saw the video, oh, look, it hasn't fixed anything. It's improved a lot for the beach road area and for the second road area. Soi Buakau and some of those side streets still have a lot of issues, Soi Shayapum, but in the dark side especially. But that's because they haven't even started the dark side sewage and drainage work out there. That's supposed to be later this year. And they're not done with the middle of Pattaya. They're pretty much done with Beach Road, and with the flow out for that, they're still doing some work on Soi 5.
Yeah.
The recent rains that we had in the flooding from there, they realized that it's still not to the level they want it to be, so they're going to dig up a small part of Soi 5 evidently again.
So regarding the planning of it, you know, the fact that they've been doing this and they've been redoing things. I read something about the beach was washed away and things like that. You'd have thought the first time they'd have done something to stop that
With
happening.
the beach washing away, you would have thought so, but they seem perfectly happy to just continually repair it, kind of like lots of things in Thailand.
Is that what they're doing? Is, you know, the contractor, they know it's going to repeat, and they've got a flow of income coming in.
appears
They're
to
going to have to redo. It's like it's like just now in Bangkok. You got these sort of funny-looking bricks, yeah, that you have, yeah, and you know they're like that, yeah, and they fit in on the pavement,
yeah,
and they always fall away. Why? Because they've done it properly in the first place and put a proper base or foundation to the street. It wouldn't need to be repaired every 6 to 8 months. But someone's getting paid for that.
But they had the bulldozers out an hour. I don't know about the planning, but they had the bulldozers out repairing that beach within an hour, so somebody was making money.
Well, this happens in England. You know, they just repave something, don't they? And then the next day there's another part of the council drilling holes. Oh, we forgot to put the power lines in or something.
Bangkok's below sea level, right? That's why we get the bad flooding. And also it was poor planning or whatever. You can't cast it back 300 years.
It's sinking. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's sinking. Yeah, so it's built in a swamp. Yeah, it was never designed to be this size. But anyway, my point for Pattaya is, are the buildings above sea level?
Yeah.
Or no?
Well, they must be to see just down the road and they're above it.
No. When you go back, yeah.
I mean, the big thing is it pretty much all goes downhill, and then of course people say, "Oh, it's all sewage in the city." That's not true. But what is true is that after a storm, you know, there's a lot of people in Pattaya. There's a lot of streets, and everything from the streets flows downhill.
Right.
And flows out. Now they've made a lot of improvements. They're adding a new pumping station.
Rubbish is another thing for blocking up the drains, I heard.
Another problem is that the taxi drivers put carpets on the drains because of the smell. So when the rain comes, all the stuff just fits on it. That's a big problem.
Right.
To stop the air coming up, to stop the smell, but then
they're lounging outside their taxi with the meter off.
Smoking a cigarette, yeah.
well, speaking of the drains clogged, so you'll often see in Pattaya, because nobody else wants to do it, they bring the prisoners out from the local remand prison, and they're the ones cleaning it up.
With a rope and a bucket, right?
Yep, with a rope. They're doing it by hand, just scooping it out.
Yeah.
It's not like it was back in the West, that's for sure.
They use pipe bursters. They clean it that way with machines.
Well, not in Bangkok. They have They even have fibre optics they put under the sea, which is blocked.
When I was working for Cable and Wireless, we were looking at all the different cable runs, and they found when they were digging a new fibre optic cable, they found one they didn't know they had, so they didn't need to lay it at all.
I wonder where it went.
But the problem was because we looked at the pipe bursting. So basically, what it is, you drill a hole on one side and you fire through. It goes. And it goes right across underneath the road. I said, why can't they do that? Yeah, True and other people.
I know
because they don't have a formal. They didn't. Maybe still have now. Yeah, maybe they have now because this is about 20 years ago. That they didn't know where the different pipes were.
That's actually part of the problem on Walking Street.
With the cables above.
With the cables above.
harnesses,
And now that they've been digging up Walking Street, they first found this last year when they were about to do it, and then the businesses, as we said delay it. There's just mystery pipes under the ground and things from 20, 30 years ago.
But that's why there's so many
problem.
cables above, because when something goes down or a box blows or something like that, they put a new harness up. They don't take the old one down, they just put a new one up.
And that's a good point, because that's a big reason why a lot of the city's still torn up. On South Pattaya Road in particular, between 3rd Road, where some of you guys might know, there's a place called Tukkom, the big electronic mall. Just past that, going up, that whole area is torn up because they're busy going ahead and moving cables underground there too. Yeah. And it's great for the future, but it's taking a bit longer than some people would like. But as you said, hey, there's no better time to do it than right now, because we don't have tens of thousands of foreign tourists coming into town every day.
So do you have? I was just going to say we're going to wrap it up soon.
Yeah,
but I've got a point I'd like to make as well.
When we listen to this, because we're doing the Hoi Hin report as well, isn't the similarities incredible?
It's very similar. It's like because we do a Hua Hin report like we do Pattaya, and we've been really pro Hua Hin, haven't we? Because of their outlook, and to be honest, we were saying, well, wouldn't it be nice if Pattaya did the same? But it looks like you are.
They are. I'm actually. Sometimes guys think it's BS when I say this, but because I see all the behind the scenes and I see all the pieces of this plan, and a lot of other people just see, oh, look, it's flooding. Or, I believe all these pieces are coming together. They've had issues with contractors. Another thing I'll just briefly add is that the popular island, Koh Larn, this entire lack of tourists has been a slight blessing for Koh Larn to go ahead and renew its environment. They've cleared out all the trash that was a big issue at that landfill. They're starting work on an incinerator, which is a controversial topic, but it's something they've needed, because before they had this huge landfill full of, more trash than anywhere in the area, because you got 10,000 Chinese tourists a day going to the island.
Why can't they use the big, more like a smelter down in Mataput? I remember massive big chimneys down there. And
for a while, one of those, from what I heard, was actually not working properly. And two, they had a lot of issues with ferrying it back and forth, and contract companies running those ferries.
Okay.
Right. No, well, I was going to mention, but I think we're running out of time, so that'll be for another time. I hope you're going to come back again.
Absolutely.
You got any final words?
No, that's it.
Well, first, I would
with Bryan.
Well, yeah, Bryan, I'd like to just quickly talk about Pattaya News, because it's maybe a news. What is it?
We're turning into more of a media company now, and we're probably going to manage people's advertising at some stage, because we're talking to advertisers, and a lot of them don't know what to do. So we might just say, okay, well, let us manage your social media and advertising.
Yeah.
For the moment, AJ's a partner, and he's the chief editor, and so what I'm trying to do at the moment is I'm trying to get Phuket organised financially somehow, and then AJ's got to move some of his team around, and we need 2 more writers. Okay. And then once we cover Phuket, I think maybe the next move would be Chiang Mai.
All right, we can put the address on the description. Is that
yes,
okay?
absolutely.
And you also have a YouTube channel, which is simply Bryan Flowers, I think, isn't it? Or what?
Yeah, I did that because I don't want to be like a Pattaya or Thailand blogger. I want to just do my own thing.
Yeah,
and just talk about
doing
what
very
I want
well.
to.
So we'll put that on. God, we're going to have a lot of description. And what were you on about earlier? About
it was with the waterfront.
With the waterfront.
The waterfront
link. We'll put a link in the actual video just to the article, which is on our Pattaya News website, which has detailed reports, over detailed actually, that we wrote, covering the entire history of the waterfront, how it started and how it's ended.
Right. I hope there is an ending.
5
years' time for appendix. Okay, so that's it. Before we say goodbye, I'd like to thank all of our subscribers of subscribing. That's a mouthful. If you haven't yet, please do. Also, clicking that notification. We all say it, but it is important. And the liking and sharing. Small click for you, a big click for us. Adam, Bryan, thank you ever so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for taking time. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you. See you again on Bangkok Chit Chat.